Okay guys, so before I give you every Easter egg in Gotham Knights, and I have scoured everywhere on the internet, I've rewatched it a million times, let's rewatch it together really quick and watch with a careful eye for Easter eggs, see if you could pick up on any of them, and right after that, I will give you all of the Easter eggs in Gotham Knights. So far, I mean, based upon the trailer and gameplay we've seen.
If you're watching this, I'm dead. This is a code black. This message was automatically triggered when I destroyed the cave and everything it contained. We both know it won't take long for Gotham's criminals to realize the Batman is gone. And you can't count on the GCPD. Haven't trusted us since Jim died. Gotham will need its protectors more than ever. I'm leaving you the Belfry as base of operations. Some of the technology is outdated, but it has the gear you need and all of my files. You've always had my back when I needed you. I know you'll keep Gotham safe. Good luck. And goodbye.
No one talks about them. Not a whisper word is said. For if you try to crush them, then the town strikes you dead.
Alright, I can honestly say that trailer is never going to get old. Alright, so let's delve into it. Right off the top, you might have noticed that there is a strange white streak in Jason Todd's hair. Jason Todd is the second Robin, and he is Red Hood as well, and also the Arkham Knight and Batman Arkham Knight, so he showed up in a lot of different places. Jason is known to be a bit rough around the edges, and he uses lethal force, although in this game he does not, which I'll get to in just a minute. The white streak in his hair is actually because he was killed by the Joker, revived in the Lazarus Pit by the League of Shadows, Heroes, which is led by Ra's al Ghul, and in coming out of the Lazarus Pit, his hair was permanently stained with that white streak that you see at the front of his head there. Now, this actually reveals a lot more than you may think about the game. It tells us a lot about where we are in this universe timeline-wise. And the video game website actually reaffirms this. It reads, Jason Todd is an intense and volatile anti-hero. It all stems from dying a violent death and then being forcibly resurrected by one of Batman's most dangerous foes. Hint, hint, that is Ra's al Ghul. He has trouble keeping his temper in check, but he will not hesitate to step in the line of fire when a friend is threatened. Red Hood wants crime to pay because Gotham City is built on a foundation of corruption. Hint, hint, that is the Court of Owls, that fundamental corruption. And he's been on the receiving end of it far too often. So yeah, he has a victim complex. He definitely feels as though he's been shorted in life. He grew up very poor, and the way Batman actually was introduced to Red Hood is because he was stealing a tire off of the Batmobile. So he kind of grew up in a rough background and a rough area, and he was stealing stuff, and Batman took him under his wing, both literally and metaphorically, and trained him to be a better person until he was killed by the Joker and once again felt slighted. And it built into that victim mentality, and that rage came out, and he just started killing everybody in sight, and that's where Under the Red Hood storyline comes in. The Lazarus Pit itself partially played into the new persona of the Red Hood after his death from the Joker, because it makes you much more violent and agitated and emotionally unstable, and we've seen that with Ra's al Ghul and other characters as well. So it's not just a him thing per se, and it was something he was able to overcome in this game, as we will see. Jason has trained to reach the peak of human strength, and he's proficient in multiple combat techniques with all manners of weapons, both traditional and high-tech. After reconciling with the Bat family, he has embraced Batman's non-lethal combat methods. So you heard that right. When he does this, and this, and this, he's not killing anyone. How lovely is that? I say all of that to say there have been some mumblings that there will be a Battle for the Cowl storyline where the Bat family all fights it out to become the next Batman. While this is still possible, it's important to understand that Jason has already undergone this moral revelation where he no longer wants to kill. While I think the Battle for the Cowl theory would have been very likely if that were not the case, and the Bat family would ultimately get fed up with Jason killing over and over and over again, and then that Battle for the Cowl would occur. In this case, it looks like they're pretty much all on the same page with their moral code, and therefore I wouldn't hold my breath for the Battle for the Cowl storyline. But this game takes place pretty late into Batman's lore. This is after Batman is already 50 years old, he's already dead, Barbara Gordon has already been crippled by the Joker, and of course, Jason Todd has already been killed by the Joker as well. Speaking of Barbara Gordon, let's talk about her really quickly. The thing the trailer shows is that Barbara Gordon used to be crippled as well. You can see her wheelchair in the background of this frame here, meaning that she used to be confined to it and now she's able to walk. Now, how exactly did that happen? Well, this is a point of controversy for many fans, honestly, myself included. It's pretty stupid unless we get further details that make it make sense, because right now it doesn't at all. Her character points out that she was indeed paralyzed by the Joker, but she became Oracle, a powerful information and communication expert, but her father's death spurred her to train and recover from her wounds so that she could return to active duty as Batgirl. What? How can she just walk? I mean, she's paralyzed now. In the New 52, they did the same exact thing, but it was an experimental surgery that saved her. Here she trained and recovered from her wounds. How does that work? I don't think that's how spines work. She was shot directly through the spine by the Joker, and unless they're changing her origin here, you may notice in her character bio, she doesn't actually explicitly mention the Joker incident. It says that after a face-off that put Barbara in a wheelchair. I really hope they don't change that origin. I think that that would be very weird and a huge mistake. It's something that's so important to Batman's mythos with the Killing Joke graphic novel in 1988. I would not be in favor of them changing that in any way. Okay, so anyway, next Easter egg. That's the highlight there. Now, this one is so important because it shows the connection between the Court of Owls and how they will play a role in this game. You will see on Jim Gordon's badge, and Jim Gordon is dead in this game, there is an owl at the top of it. Now, typically in American police and military, it will be an eagle. In this case, it is an owl on top of the GCPD badge. That tells us a lot because the Court of Owls is an organization that has deeply infiltrated the roots of Gotham. They settled in Gotham in the 1600s. They were colonists, and they generated mass amounts of wealth by establishing the early parts of Gotham, building things up and generating passive income and investments and that type of thing. So they have an ostentatious amount of wealth, an incredible amount of wealth that rivals even what Batman has. In fact, they're much wealthier than Batman collectively because Batman is just one person, obviously. Not only that, their roots run deep into Gotham. They've been there for generations. Their families are all interconnected. They control the government. They control the police. And they have Talons who will literally go out and kill you if you cross them. In fact, in the comics, Talons actually killed one of the Wayne family members, and the Waynes and the Court of Owls feuded way back in the day in the 1800s and the 1900s as well. Now, once again, the Court of Owls basically moved into, settled, and started colonizing Gotham in the 1600s. The GCPD was established in this universe in the year 1841. It goes to show you that the Court of Owls likely had a very strong and heavy hand in establishing the GCPD, setting up its rules, how it operates, who operates it, of course, which is the most important. What we're going to see in this game is that since Jim Gordon passed away and the GCPD has now returned to the typical corrupt roots in which it lays, and the reason it was so corrupt, essentially we'll find in the game, is the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls and their ostentatious wealth, political influence, social influence, and the connections amongst members within the Court of Owls basically run the police force, they run the political system, they run everything in Gotham. And the owl on the GCPD badge just goes to show it, and in fact, we might even discover in the game that the Court of Owls are responsible for taking out Jim Gordon. They likely were upset with the fact that they had less control of the GCPD because Jim Gordon was so popular, he was so beloved by other members of the GCPD, and as a result of that, they were losing their power and influence and took him out as a result. So they might actually deviate from the fact where the Court of Owls killed Wayne in the past, in the 1800s and the 1900s, and they might actually focus on the fact that the Court of Owls have all done something individually to all four of these characters, and in this case, they killed Barbara's dad. The next Easter egg you'll see is GCN. That stands for Gotham City News. It is the news outlet in all of Gotham that covers Gotham news, politics, etc. Because of what I mentioned regarding the Court of Owls and their political and social influence, it wouldn't surprise me if the Gotham City Network, GCN, actually plays a big role in this game. The Court of Owls also use their wealth and influence to manipulate the media and trick Gothamites into thinking that Gotham is not a corrupt place. And while many people kind of have a suspicion that it is corrupt, the Gotham City News Network being controlled by the Court of Owls obviously will desperately impact everyone's ability to understand what is actually going on in the city of Gotham. Court of Owls also likely will want to ascertain control of GCN because that means that they can ensure that their identities will not be unveiled. So I don't know for sure, but just based upon the color design and how pronounced it is in this trailer and also in the gameplay demo, I have a sneaking suspicion that GCN, Gotham City News, is actually going to be very important in this game, at least in the story. Hopefully we can actually go inside some of these buildings and these skyscrapers. That would be great for the free roam. So right here we actually get our first villain confirmation for the Gotham Knights game, and that is Anarchy. Anarchy, also known as Lonnie Machin, was an ordinary child who, while abnormally intelligent, is apolitical and socially unaware. At age 11, he gained a foreign pen pal, Zeus? How the hell do you say that? I don't know. As part of the school program, every month they would write to each other about their lives. Lonnie, aka Anarchy, would write about how wonderful the United States is, and his friend would write about poverty and the political repression that made up his nation. After a year of contact, his friend stops writing, and all of Anarchy's letters are returned as undeliverable. A year later, Anarchy learns about his friend's fate. In his final letter, he writes to Anarchy explaining that his father had been arrested, his mother had been taken ill, his sister had died of malnutrition, and at age 11, he is homeless and fending for himself. Driven with worry for his friend, Lonnie fervently learns about his country, discovering it to be a third world dictatorship at war with Marxist guerrillas, with arms dealers from the West making millions in profit from the contract. So basically he became radicalized after meeting this friend. He took sides of anarchists basically, and therefore became a literal anarchist named Anarchy. The interesting thing about this is that the Court of Owls, as I mentioned, is a highly institutional organization. They are pro-status quo. Anarchy is anti-status quo. So you might think, oh, they're all villains, they're working together. But I think what you'll find in the game is actually the Court of Owls is directly opposite of this villain Anarchy, who clearly has some prominence in the game, being shown as the first villain confirmed for the game. Here's another interesting thing about Anarchy. He built a machine to fuse both hemispheres of his brain, giving him increased intelligence and what he perceived to be increased enlightenment. So he already was intelligent as a child, but then he fused both hemispheres of his brain in this weird Scientology technological thing, and basically he became even more intelligent. So he is hyper intelligent and incredibly political, unlike when he was younger. And as I mentioned, he is a complete anarchist. He's going to be anti-Court of Owls, anti-Batman, anti-GCPD, you name it, he's going to be against it. But anyway, just that context for you, that character is confirmed for the game, and I'm very interested to see how he plays into the main story. Now, when Robin lands here to take out Anarchy's guys, you actually can see in the background there is a building that is called Edward M. Elliot Center. Edward Elliot was actually in the New 52 run with the Court of Owls, and he is the great-great-grandfather of Thomas Elliot, aka Hush. He is one of the men responsible for the construction of modern-day Gotham City. Now, I can't remember if he actually is a Court of Owls in that Scott Snyder New 52 run, or if he's just the great-great-grandfather of Thomas Elliot, who again is the Hush. This is really important once again because it is a tease for the Court of Owls. It shows that the Elliot family, aka Hush, his family is going to have involvement in the game as well. The Elliots are highly influential in the founding of Gotham. If you've read Batman Hush, the graphic novel, I highly recommend it. It will be important knowledge for you playing this game because the Elliots are going to be heavily involved with the Court of Owls as well. Not only that, you have the Cobblepots, you have other really influential Gotham families, and I cannot wait to see how they're involved in this game. If we're going to get more backstory on the Wayne family, I thought what they explored in Batman Telltale, making the Wayne family evil, even though I didn't like that direction, I thought it would be very interesting to make it some revelation where the Waynes actually have connections into the Court of Owls. I would really be interested to see that, even though it might be something that rubs me the wrong way at first. You also could just look at it as a basic Hush tease, and it is teasing Hush's involvement in the game. I think it's highly likely he will be in the game because everyone complained so much when he was shafted out of the Arkham games. They set up such a great side mission in Arkham City, and then in Batman Arkham Knight, the finale to Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy, there was no payoff there at all. There was a very cool 5-minute side mission where he actually goes up into Wayne Tower and kidnaps Lucius Fox. I actually really liked that, but it was more just the fact that he wasn't involved in the main story, and it was just a small side mission that pissed fans off. So because of that negative feedback, I really do see them using the Hush as a huge villain in this game, and this is just more evidence pointing towards that direction. A Gotham National Bank Easter egg. Hopefully Two-Face's role in the game is much more than just robbing banks as it was in Arkham Knight. Now, I can't say for sure here, but the aesthetic of this environment that they're entering into certainly resembles that of the League of Shadows. Again, I cannot say for sure, and it could be Court of Owls related, but it also really does look like something related to Ra's al Ghul, the League of Shadows, so just something to keep in mind there. So in this shot, you just get a bit of a glimpse into the scale of this map. There are 5 different districts to the map. I assume that this helipad with the tower and the belfry right there in the background is just one island, and you can see 5 different districts of the map elsewhere. So hopefully this is a gigantic map. It certainly looks that way based upon the gameplay trailer. Also, when Batgirl is scaling the mountain, she looks out into the skyline. Hopefully all of that is playable. I have every reason to believe that it is. So just hoping for a really large map. It certainly looks like that's what we're getting. So now we get a Chuck Dixon Easter egg, and interestingly, the Dixon docks were also in Batman Arkham Origins, and it is an allusion and a teaser to Chuck Dixon, who basically popularized the Bat family, particularly Batgirl, Red Hood, Nightwing, and made all of these characters really relevant in the 90s when he was writing all of the Bat family books and was basically in charge of all of Batman at DC Comics. And at that time, that was the golden age of Batman in comic books. They were writing tons of different books on Batman and Red Hood, Batgirl, all those different characters. So I think they're really leaning into what this game is about. It is about vintage DC Comics. You even see that with the classic black and blue Nightwing suit and the purple and gold Batgirl. They're going for the vintage DC comic look, really embracing their origins in many ways, and I think that also explains the tone and mood. This game certainly looks like it's going for a T rating over a Batman Arkham M rating, for instance. So it's certainly going to be leaning more into the animated series, more into the comic books, than into the photorealistic superhero video games, superhero movies that the Batman Arkham games were more sampled off of. Not that Batman Arkham Asylum or City were not sampled off of those same things, but you know what I mean.
No one talks about them. Not a whisper word is said.
Now, this gives us some inclination into what the Court of Owls are actually trying to do in the game. What you're seeing here was also in the original Court of Owls run, albeit in a slightly different way. In the graphic novel, Batman goes into this gigantic room, and there are also a bunch of coffins basically just laying around there, except in that comic book, they're laying down instead of hanging from the air. But anyways, there are more than one Talons, plural, there are many of them, and they're ultimately being housed in these coffins here. And one of the theories is that Batman might actually be one of the people in these coffins, and that these are the coffins of people like Thomas Elliott's great-great-grandfather, Hush's great-great-grandfather, and that's something that is certainly plausible. Even Thomas Wayne could potentially be alive. And they teased in the initial reveal that this story with the Court of Owls is much, much deeper than the Court of Owls itself. And I really am excited for the story. There are tons of possibilities here, but yeah, there are more than one Talons. Thomas Wayne might be alive. Bruce Wayne might be alive. We never know, and we're just going to have to wait and see when the game comes out, and we'll be speculating about this a bit more, but ultimately, there are tons of different avenues they can go down with this route. Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. This is my first of many breaking down everything you need to know about Gotham Knights, whether it be Easter eggs, teasers, information, and then also I intermix my thoughts and feelings and opinions a lot as well. So be sure to tune in and subscribe, ring the bell, like the video. Let's try to get this video to 2,000 likes. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to my amazing Slick Mafia members. Link in the description below. See you all in the next video. Peace out.